There we go. Hello, everyone. I was having some issue with the audio, so I think everything's all set up. Bear with me for a moment as I get the visuals going, and we'll jump right into this. Hello, hello. That was so weird. Huh. Get the audio working and then the audio shuts off again. Something's going on with my system. Okay, let's try this again. Once again, hello guys, Dante here. Welcome back to my channel, The Burger's Heart. And this is the start of my run of Sunday night streaming. I apologize in advance if I'm coming across very loud. Something's going on with all my audio systems. So just lower your volume, because I probably will come in pretty loud. So, hey Red Spectre, thank you for joining. As I just said, let me know if something's going on with the audio. I might be coming in very loud. Of course, you can always adjust that. If I'm coming in too low, let me know. So, what is going to be happening for these streams? For the next 3 weeks, I'm going to be painting these miniatures. These miniatures are, in fact, done by yours truly. These are, the originals are hand sculpted, then hand casted in resin. Everything's done by hand. So these are all done by hand, given with a lot of love. These have been these have been primed, and these are all Dungeons and Dragons inspired minis. Hey Joe, good to see you. So what we have on the table is my original Beholder inspired character with its D20 dice called the D-Holder. And I guess, yes, it is a bit of a cheeky name, even though originally I wasn't thinking about that. But yes, that's the D-Holder. He'll be painted later. You have this one, what I call the Grapple Hand. It's part of the Grapple series, which are miniatures that are sculpted to have a 1-inch base, but are built to hold a 1-inch figurine. And I've already painted a few of these in various colors, like this purple with a bronzy gauntlet that's been broken, and this green one, and a more dulled gauntlet with a 2-inch base that's bursting out of a tiled floor. And today we are going to be working with the Grapple Claw, the first of the Grapple series. Once again, has a nice 1-inch base with a 1-inch platform to hold your character. These are great for displaying your pieces, using as actual tokens in the game, actual monsters. And the resin is usually just a white resin I use. And these are usually sold. Most of these are sold in the white base resin for you to customize, which makes them great to, like, you could just take a sander and, like, dig into these and, like, really work with them. Like, you could take a Dremel, completely get rid of this platform, and, like, attach it to a figurine and give your figurine a claw. And that's what we're working with today, and we're going to go ahead and start painting the Grapple Claw. So before I go into the full painting, some quick detail as of right now. So you have a bunch of small little barnacles all around it. Some battle damage in the claw itself. This big old cut right here. A little starfish for detail. These tendrils in the bottom for random detailing. The base is textured to be kind of like a seaweed. And yeah, just little scratches and cuts and nastiness. And I'm thinking we are gonna hit this guy with maybe some blue. I'm thinking like a blue shell, like a what they call blue crab special. So we're gonna be doing that right there. I am using, so I just hit it with some spray paint primer, and I'm using some water-based airbrush paint because I feel it gets into all the fine details quite nice. You can't see it, but I have a whole slew of paint over here, and I like to reuse any kind of, you know, material that is not the best to recycle, like plastics. This is a freaking like chocolate ice cream mochi dish, and yeah, so I like to use this. I actually have an entire pile of freaking what they call egg cartons. The foam egg cartons for a lot of my paint because I just you know, there's just so much material that is, you know, can't be recycled. I'm like, why not just use it for that? Here we go. So how do we approach this? My painting technique, if you wish to call it that, because that makes it sound like I actually know what I'm doing. But the way I approach it is flat colors of my choice, just flat colors, and then a nice black wash. I mix some well, actually no, we'll get to discussing the wash later, but it's how I made it. But basically it's flat colors of your choice, a dark wash, then dry brushing, usually of 2 tones, slightly lighter, then even more lighter, and then see where it stands from there. So like I said, we're gonna go for some blue crab on this. The base color I usually keep relatively dark. Not too dark because you can have a wash anyway. I had to use a spray paint primer mix. So it's paint and primer. I don't know if that's the best. I was in a rush, it's all I had on hand. I say I don't know if that's the best because I can already see some of the blue is trying to run off on me. Maybe if I use less water. Anyway, buddies, guys, how you doing? What you doing? Talking to all my bros in the chat. What you up to, guys? As we wait to see for any response from them, per usual, I struggled to get. I was trying to find a nice copyright-free music on YouTube, and whenever I do find a playlist, I'm still very worried because they'll say it's copyright-free, and then it won't be. Or even worse, it's a playlist. So then you're enjoying the music, and all of a sudden there's a freaking commercial for Febreze, which is what happened earlier in the loading screen. So I'm gonna probably, aside from the obvious change in color, it being blue, I might approach this the same way I did the very first test paint. So it'll be, you know, the main color, the teeth will probably be yellow. I call them teeth. I don't know what you call it on a crab's hand, on a crab's claw, but you know, not yellow. It'd be white. So the actual like pieces that look like teeth on a crab's claw, and then I'll do this inner center piece, maybe some shades of black, some really dark blue. I figure if I'm going to these streams, it might as well be Sunday night. Because when COVID does let up, I'm going to be hanging out with friends Saturday night and Friday night, hopefully. So Sunday is a good time to jump into this. Alright. Let's use some light green for now. You know what? Let's hold on the green because I'm using the platform to hold on to. So let's just go ahead and try maybe some yellowish for the barnacles, like whitish yellow for now, as opposed to just gray, because it'll get dark anyway once we put the wash on. So, speaking of the wash, I'm more or less using a technique used by Black Magic Craft, which is basically just water, the color you're using, in this case black, and a pinch of dishwashing soap. I don't know the actual ratio, but I just mixed it all up into this old bottle I have. Even though it shows brown, it's actually black on the inside. And it works well enough. It makes a complete mess. So when I get to that part, my hands are gonna be, it's gonna look like I've been dipping my hands in black ink. So I'm going kind of messy here for now. The blue's not completely dry. I don't care. You know, I can always fix a few details as I go. I just want to really get this going. Yeah, I don't know what it is. My stream. I have all my settings ready to go. Everything's like all set. Everything's up hunky dory, and then all the audio just like resets. The recording files, or I don't know, extensions. I don't know what you call them. Well, basically, where it grabs its information from. It switches to a default instead of staying with the mic I told it to stick with. And all of a sudden, I'm just like, well, that's funny. How come no one can hear me? How come they can't hear me in this file, but they can, they can't hear me on this screen, but they can hear me on the other screen? It's very odd. Whatever. So yeah, so right now I'm just highlighting these kind of barnacle. I don't know, barnacles, well, not really parasitic, are they? They just kind of grow on everything. They grow on ships. I don't know if they're considered parasitic in a way. They just get in the way of creatures. Like I said, being a little messy. We got some spots where the blue and the yellow are mixing. So we're getting a little bit of green in there. This is meant to be nasty and messy anyway. Let me see. Did I miss a barnacle? Yeah, so you have a little cluster of barnacles all on this side. When I sculpted it, I tried to make it a little bit asymmetric. So you have a little cluster right here. So fun fact, the base was a mold off of an actual base, which is why it even has a little taper. So the barnacles are sculpted over a pre-existing base. So so you don't need to add a base to it. It already has a perfect square. But if you want to change the size of the base, such as once again going to like a 2-inch, then you just plop it right on top. I just sent out a test text in the chat just to see how it's coming across on other websites aside from here on Twitch. Because once again, this is being broadcasted to Twitch. Should be on YouTube as well. Hopefully that's going okay. I haven't had a chance to actually switch over and check that. But seeing how that's where Joseph is seeing me, I'm guessing it's coming across okay. So how long am I gonna stream for? I don't know, man. Like I'm just doing a quick painting. So I'm talking to fill up time as the paint literally dries. Let's between layers. Let's say maybe an hour and a half. But the idea is by 10 I'm gonna jump off no matter what. So I actually want to finish this by 10. Alright, so we have the barnacles, we have the base color for now. I tried to mix some purple with white, there was too much white. I'm also trying to right now just do the little tendrils, like there's like 3 or 4 little, no, it's like, I don't know, it's 3 little tendrils. I sculpted it on the base of this originally. So I'm just going to make them purple. Just want them to be a bit of a lighter color for now. Here we go. Where are those tendrils? Right here. Really small detail. Yeah, so once again, this was sculpted by hand. It was like just an idea I had of like, essentially in every like D&D campaign, regardless of what edition you use, there's always that joke that no one knows how to grapple. You know, it's just like, oh, the rules in 5 were better than 3.1 and whatever. They could make a, by the time we hit like 7.14 in the books, we're still gonna be arguing over how the hell you grapple someone. So I was like, let me make a sculpture where you just grappled. That's it. Like the actual image, the actual visual is that the creature the DM has thrown at you has grabbed you or a teammate. Now, the hard thing about painting on camera is that I'm tempted to take it away from the camera and get really visually close. So what I have to do is actually lean into it instead. Okay, so we got these miscellaneous little tendrils at the bottom. Where's my red paint? So we're gonna mix a dab of red and pink, or red and white to make pink. You know what? No, scratch that. Let's make it a little bit. Let's make it a pale orange. Because we got a starfish on the side of this, and I want to color that starfish maybe like an orange, but a pale orange because you know, I say but color theory 101. Essentially, orange and blue are opposites. So you don't want to have like an entire. To have orange and blue on a palette, because sometimes mess with your eyes. So what it really comes down to is the tone of blue and the tone of the orange. So I'm mixing very pale orange, very pale yellow with red. So it's not such a vibrant orange that your eye's gonna go, oh, it hurts. If you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, just think of green and red. Same thing. There we go. So, since we're on the topic of miniatures, Dungeons and Dragons, fantasy, for example, and I'm speaking more to the people who might watch this video in the future, not so much to people who are already here in the chat, because these guys know. They already know about it. In fact, I text them about it. I'm trying to make my own little choose your own adventure story. There are websites that you could type it all into, and it does the organization for you and everything. But I'm writing it. I'm typing it up with the idea of maybe even doing like a little print of it. And yeah, I'm approaching it. I don't know what the best way to approach the choose your own adventure story really is. I've checked. I've listened to different people who've actually published their own versions of books like that, and none of them really give me the solid answers. There's the basic things, such as it shouldn't just be a question of go left or go right. It should be. You should have context clues. Like the person should get an idea of what they're getting into. Make it interesting. Don't just be like go left and go right. You go left and then suddenly you instantly die and like there's no agency to that. That's the word. There's no agency. So I'm writing a story and the main pull of the story is that I want it to be lighthearted and funny. Think kind of like the narrator from what's that word? What's that movie again? What's that book? Traveler's Guide to the Galaxy or to the Universe or whatever it's called. Like I'm writing this story as if the narrator is aware he's in a book and he's presenting to you this fun little adventure story that you are now a part of. So everything in it is going to be a little tongue-in-cheek. and yeah, it's just a I don't know how to approach it correctly. I know you have to, you could think of the endings. You could think of the endings first if you wanted to. One person online said that you should write. I say write, but you should lay out a main story and then rewrite that story from the first chapter, and again and again and again. The way I'm approaching it is that I essentially have a handful of endings. Not sure how we're gonna get there, but a handful of endings and a handful of scenarios I definitely want, and I'm kind of like intertwining them. Like I have the endings, I have the beginning, of course, the setup, and I have the scenarios. And in the scenarios I also have a little bit of the tree. So I know some of the questions I will ask in the scenarios, and now I'm actually just connecting them. What scenario works best towards this ending and that ending? I don't know if that's the right way to approach it, but that's the only way I can really think of. So yeah, I am hoping to do a little, and it's not a major project. It's more of like I'm just right now my mind is buzzing with ideas, and I have nowhere to put them. So why not put them all into one book? Why not streamline these ideas and just go ahead and do a choose your own adventure book. Leave it to me. That's right, leave it to me to be like, I'm gonna do a nice relaxing side project, and the side project is the most complicated writing project I can think of. Now I know my sculpture detailing is not the best. There's a number of individuals, and I've said this before, there's like one or two people on like Instagram who I follow because their ability to do fine details. Fine details on small sculptures by hand. Like that's the main thing. Like these are old school they're not old school artists that I know of. They just happen to be approaching it the old school way, which is like, no, we're not going to do it on the computer. We are going to sculpt it by hand. But with that said, I'm still happy with the way this came out. There is something about this. I don't know. I think it's because it's paint and primer as opposed to just primer. I find it's a bit too sleek for my taste as I'm trying to drop down these colors. It's like I'm painting more on glass. Like it's sticking, but not completely. I just gotta be careful not to use too much water in the paint. I just gotta go straight paint. Okay, so we have most of the base color done. Just blue, yellow, purple, green. Gonna add a little bit of grayish white for the teeth area. Alright, Vet Spectra, we'll see you later. It's too dark. I'm trying to get a nice, very light gray. I'm trying to get a very light gray. that'll do for now. Let's bring out these kind of teeth-like protrusions. Are they called spikes? Like, what are the teeth-like little bone teethy-like things you see on crab claws? What are they called? If you know, put it in the commentary. Okay. And I'm gonna use a darker blue for the underside of the claw. Still not dark enough. I'm mixing it. It's just not getting there, people. A little darkish. Okay. Let's see. It looks the same to me. Screw it. I'm gonna put a dab of black. Shouldn't do that, but. There we go. I mean, the wash is what's going to be really getting in there anyway, but I still want to give it a bit of a jump start in how dark I want it. The base is going to be a solid, I don't know, I'll probably do it brown, like a solid brown color. But for now, I'll leave it because I have to hold on to something. I need, my hands don't go nowhere. So how is the video quality? Because I once again, I'm just doing this on my phone. I have a light next to me. Let me see. I'm going to hold it up to the camera for a minute and double check on one of the streaming sites I'm watching right now. I got Twitch, YouTube, and separately I have Picardo. Because because Picardo doesn't have a shared chat, so I gotta watch it separately. Let's see, how's that look? Alright, yeah, it could be seen. Let me see. There you go. I'm actually adjusting my own. I have a tablet showing me everything on Twitch/YouTube. Because even though the chat is being shown in the video, there's a delay. So it's like a delay on top of a delay. And I have Picardo on the second. Picardo. Captain Picardo. I have that on a separate page. Alright, so. Now things may get a bit messy. we're just gonna go nuts with a wash right now. I'm gonna use a very soft brush and just soak this bad boy up. It's about 9 o'clock. We started kind of late, 8:15, because once again all the audio went screwy. So I'll say it now and I'll say it again later on. White resin of the deholder, plain white resin. You can buy these on my Etsy page. Now it's the Burgos Art on Etsy. I need to restock the claws, but the claws will also be on Etsy. These are all white resin. And eventually I'll be putting a small handful of the hand. So the Grapple Claw and the Grapple Hand will be up shortly. Use my for an extra bucket. I'm going to use my this is my canvas bucket. Like, you know, you attach it to the side of canvas, not canvas, to the side of your easel. It's meant to hold your turpentine when you're doing oil painting. So shake this up. Look at this. Nice big soft brush. And let's go. There you go. You let it get everywhere. Let it run everywhere. It's gonna be messy no matter what. It's gonna. You want it to be messy. You want it to be ugly. And this is once again water. A little bit of paint of your choice. Mine is just basic black. And then a little bit of soap. That way it just kind of runs. And then stand it up, you know, right way up. That way it all runs downward. And you know, you're basically covering up all. That's why I don't do the shading. Like, doing a wash is a quick way of getting the shading. I don't actually shade the sculpture itself. I don't add the shading. I tried that. I used to do it at first, but you know, I don't know. I just didn't like the way it came out. So I did. Years ago, I used to like actually put shading into the sculptures, and it just never worked. But wet brush. Wet brush, and then you go back and you go back and you put some of that you then put some dry brush of lighter colors, and then the shading really, it helps the shading really pop out. Let the water, let the paint do the work for you. Let it soak into all of the fine details. I should have waited longer for the green on top. Green on top ran off a little bit. I'll fix that. Let's mix the green in there. Once again, it's like nasty seaweed, so it's okay. So this is when you really have to wait. Because it's so watery, you need to let this wait. Let it all run down and do its deal. So I've been using pretty much this. Really, these are all cheap paintbrushes. Like, you buy these in a pack. Just two really small ones for fine detailing. I got a few medium squares that are soft, big soft. This is part of like a pack of like 20. This little guy, because he's at an angle, because he's really small and like tough, I use him a lot for a dry brush because it's kind of like rough. Dry brush should be really rough. Dry brush essentially is where you take your color and you actually kind of get rid of some of it, like put it on the side over here, somewhere where you can like take off a little bit with just a pinch on it. Ooh. And with that little pinch, you then start just flicking around the top, and the idea is you're grazing all the top pieces. So in this case, the wet brush would have sunken in between my knuckles, for example. The dry brush, I just kind of go against the grain, and the tip of the knuckles or the dry brush, the lighter color, and that's it. That's how you get your dark to shades. And then you can always. I've seen people use black wash, brown wash, just to try to mix it up. Same thing with the lighter colors. If you're doing wood, you could do a base of brown, like a lightish brown, I guess, a dark black wash, then go in there with something like maybe this. I love this. This is technically golden brown. So golden brown, and then maybe a little bit of yellow for where like the wood's been chipping off, and you could see like the fresh wood, the fresh tree, healthy tree wood beneath it. That's what it all comes down to. It's just share, piece after piece. Once again, as it's dry, so I don't know how well it will come off on camera, but you can see the wet brush, all the blacks that sunk in beneath the wrist and around the metal gauntlet and in between the knuckles. And then I went back to the knuckles and did a light green and then an even more lighter whitish green. That way each knuckle it catches on the knuckles, it catches on the side of the wrist, on the side of the little balls of the hand, if you would, here and here. And it's quick, and especially if you're doing something like Warhammer, where you're gonna paint like 100 of these guys. Doing flat colors, wet brush, dry brush, like it's a time saver. And these are meant to be messy. These are meant to be ugly and messy. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the technique. If I wanted to be really pretty, I would address it differently. Just blowing on it. That way it'll pool but not like leave. It'll dry faster. So I don't know if you can see it yet, but you see how all the fine detailing, the little lines of the seaweed, the little holes in the seaweed are now much more visible. You have these little holes also inside of the starfish. And of course, all of the original yellowish, pale yellow barnacles, like that wet brush really gets in there nicely. I might not even go back and add a lighter color to them. I'll add light colors to the blue, and of course to the teeth. But the yellow I might just leave the way it is. Let me fix my camera for a minute. There we go, much better. So we're gonna wait a pinch, let that green on top dry up a bit more. See if we can add a little bit. So you can't see it, but it's entangled. As usual, my entire table's a mess. I have all the paints on this side. Then beyond that is just a cacophony of heaven knows what projects that I have done. Pieces of projects, like when I'm done with the project, I end up with all these little pieces of paper and freaking cardboard just everywhere. I need to clean the table. It's a mess. It is a mess. Yeah, I'm thinking for the base, because it is in the water, I might just use this. This is acrylic. This is not airbrush paint. Now, the airbrush paint is expensive because it goes in an airbrush. But I buy it because of its watery texture. Actual hobby paint for stuff like this that has that watery texture, no store freaking sells it. Like, unless you go specifically to like a hobby store specifically for that. So I just buy airbrush paint. But even like this really cheap Craft Smart acrylic, this works well too. It all works well as long as you prime it correctly to give it something to grab onto. Because resin by itself is not, like plain white resin will not hold on that well. So as we look at this, let me show you a failed attempt at this idea. Which way was it? Was it like this? There it goes. So this was a giant squid tendril on a 2-inch base, but even then it overlaps the base. So the original sculpting for this wasn't even correct because it overlapped. But it's a giant squid tendril that has the 1-inch base in the center. And this is plastilina clay. I might go back to this and use epoxy clay. That way it'll be easier to mold. Because when it's plastilina and you gotta do a sandwich mold, there's a chance of it being bent and warped, or in this case, how it just broke. But once again, it was the same idea. This was like the very first attempt at making something like this, where it's just this giant creature that it captures your party member. Speaking of which, I'm trying to make a mini. This figurine is actually at a slightly smaller scale than I guess the average Dungeons and Dragons figurine. I noticed. I checked the box. This is an old box. Essentially, it's a woman's top with a different character. I think the bottom was like a man or whatever, but the man had like a skirt on or a kilt, so it kind of worked. So I glued 2 parts together. I need to give her a tail, but she's so tiny. So to try and sculpt on her is gonna be a pain in the butt. So I might leave a lot of the detail as it is. Just change a few things like take away her axe, give her some shoulder pads. But she's supposed to have horns and a tail because she is meant to be a tiefling. But yeah, I'm making her for a D&D campaign that I'm playing. And she won't even be used for the campaign. The campaign is being done online with a few friends, and it's all verbally descriptive. But yeah, I want to have a character. I want to have it. Okay, let's start getting a nice pale blue ready to go for the dry brushing of the blue. I'm not even sure what color blue this is. It's just like a deep blue. So when you add white to it, it doesn't really go into a sky blue. It becomes more like a oddly briny deep kind of blue, dull blue. So you get some paint. Minimize how much paint you're going to use. Let's see. Let's get the tip. Just the tip, people. Just the tip. Let's put some right here over the raised parts of this scar. I'm just hitting random spots right here. Nothing. Nothing too defined. Maybe right here at the lip, if you call it, where the claw meets the rest of the hand. And you want to work against the scars. So here, the striations going up and down, so I'm going sideways. That way, this light blue doesn't get inside of it. I want to keep the wet brush Let's add even more white to that. There we go, mix it on the side. Too much, there we go. Alright. Now let's see, let's take some more white. And while we're here, let's highlight the teeth as well. So a little bit zoomed in a bit. That way you can see better what I'm doing. Or you can see what I'm doing better. Me, I'm speaking English. Don't want to go nuts. Just want to get the very tip of these teeth. Like that. That was too much. There we go. Bugging me, but I still want to add a bit of a darker tone in between the teeth. So I am going to take a little bit of like this deep, deep dark blue. Since everything's still a little wet, just a pinch, especially in all these grooves, all these little in-betweens, adding the original blue itself, like the base blue, which is already a dark tone, should work. That looks better. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Okay. Let's see if we can line up little purple tendrils at the bottom as well. They might just need another. They might just need another paint in general because I've been touching them so much. Yeah, well, you can't really. It's kind of hard to dry brush something so small. So I'm just gonna go ahead and actually give it solid, some vibrant, violet. I don't know, almost pinkish. There we go. Then I'll also mix some of the darker base in there too. There we go. I think all that's left is to add a little bit of color, a little bit more of a lighter yellowish once again to the starfish. There's a smidge of black in my orange paint. How did that happen? There we go. Help it stand out. Yeah, it is like a nice dull color. That green is just not drying right. What? That green is just not drying right. Something not right about that green, people. I'm actively putting more wash in the base around the green seaweed. Just I want to really get in there. That's the thing, you can always go back and forth. Like right now I'm wiping the brush. That way also it kinda like picks up some of the darkness. Darkness. Once again, that green is just not doing this good job right. Might add a little pinch of really deep red inside that scar. I had to turn off the music, it was bugging the heck out of me. Which means, oh no, I must fill the empty void of speech. They were showing the movie Clue the other day. It's a fun movie. It's a fun movie. And it's Miss Peacock. Is it Mrs. Peacock? She has a fear of silence. And it's Professor Plum, or is he Mr. Green? Professor. It is Professor Plum. Played by the great Doc Brown, by the great Judge Doom. And he says he basically points out the fact that she has a fear of silence. Christopher Lloyd, man, love that guy. I wonder, like, we don't see an actor for a very long time. I'm like, is he just chilling out on royalties? Because not every actor gets good royalties. But when it comes to Back to the Future, you deserve freaking royalties for that. You deserve royalties from Back to the Future. Okay, so I'm going to switch to a very fine tip brush. In fact, it's so fine it's stiff, which is perfect. And I'm taking my deep red color. I'm doing that. It's mixing with the black wash. So it's not perfect, which is, I mean, it's not a vibrant, perfect red. It's a dirty red. Dirty boy. Yeah, there we go. That does look nice. It pops from that blue. That's right, Uncle Fester. I freaking love him as Uncle Fester because he's meant to be like a villainous character. Then you see him slowly begin to fall in love with the family. And yes, Star Trek. I forget that because I didn't grow up watching Star Trek as much. But just the internet meme. Get out of there! I forget. Is that the one where he gets kicked into the lava? Like he's so angry at Kurt that he like freaking like the planet itself is like collapsing, and he's like, "No, we finish this here and now." And it was interesting. He's done a number of like bit roles too, like over the past several years. Usually it's like there was like a really short lived horror anthology, and he was like the omnipotent narrator in that. I think he wore a really bad wig as well. Okay, so mixing this light green that we used for the base with some yellow. It's literally just on the camera, but it's right here on a little piece of paper. I am wiping it off on the brush again, and we're going to try. Hopefully this green is going to cooperate. I don't know why this green is not drying the way I want it to. But once again, you go against the green. There we go, yep. Go against the grain. Want to highlight some yellows, some yellowish green. Just gonna mix it on top. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe because it's such a smooth surface on top, that green is not holding on to the base. Next time when I buy primer, I have to make sure it's just primer. Because this whole paint and primer makes it too smooth. Freaking I love that. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. The only actor to lose 2 time machines. So there's like 3 people I watch on YouTube who their main thing is that they watch pop culture movies that they themselves have never seen. But I mind you, they're roughly my age. They're roughly in their 30s. So they land in the millennial umbrella. Because technically I land in the millennial millennial umbrella. The millennial umbrella. But I'm at the far end of it. So because I think that the term millennial refers to someone who was a teenager in the 2000s. I was a teenager at the start of 2000s. With that said, I like to watch certain people. There's this one girl. She does a series called Millennial Mondays. I just like her natural personality when she laughs, because she reacts to Mel Brooks, a lot of movies, and I'm watching this couple who are obviously maybe in their late 20s, and they've never seen Back to the Future. Like, they know nothing about it except for like the fact that there's a DeLorean, and that's it. And I was watching their reaction to it, and it's just really interesting seeing a brand new seeing someone who is watching something for the first time that you're like, everyone knows about this, and because it lets you know whether or not the series or the movie holds up. Because you could rant and rave about how, oh, this movie was great when I saw it when I was 10, but when you have someone who's an adult watching that same movie now and they're like, you know what, you're right, it is great. It's cool, because it shows that yes, these films do stand the test of time. Okay, so I'm just gonna wait a minute, do another pass of even more yellow on the green, and then we'll just color the base, and that should be it. 9:30, about an hour and a half in. And it's nice, so I have the original paint I did of this, which which was an orange one, which I use as a display piece at conventions, and now I have a nice like blue. Sickly blue, ocean blue. It's not vibrant, which is perfect. The only really vibrant part of this are like the barnacles and the tendrils at the base, and even then, you have a muted color for the starfish. I probably could have made the platform a different color than just seaweed green. Maybe I should have made it black or brownish. But I think it does good against the blue. For now, I'm thinking about it. For now. Especially when I do the base brown, it'll balance it out nicely. So, secrets from behind the scenes. This one, the casting came out incorrect, so you didn't see it because I already had it primed. But I actually had to put a lot of epoxy clay in it because there was a lot of air bubbles. This one, it's missing maybe like a 1/4 inch of base, so I'm gonna put this on a platform. And this one, everything came out great except the tongue broke off. So this is actually a second tongue I've sculpted on top, which is why it's kind of smooth and curling upward. The actual tongues actually wiggle more diagonally outward, like this. So I decided, I have these broken ones, might as well use them for this series. Just to show that you can sculpt on them and use them even when they're freaking broken. If you drop it at home and it breaks, we can milk it, man. Use it. Okay, yeah, just very careful pinches of yellow. Very careful. Some of it's still wet, so adding this yellow, it'll bleed in some spaces and it'll stick out. My toothpick tool. It's a toothpick jammed into a piece of hard foam. I want to get some of this paint out of the. I want to get some of this green paint out of these little round divots. Trying to put a pinch of the black back in there. Yes, another pain. When dealing with like round pieces in sculpture, you gotta be very careful when you're molding it. Pour in that liquid latex nice and slowly. That way, you manage to catch all that detail. Okay, air bubbles can ruin everything, man. There you go. Mixing. Yeah, it looks a lot better. Once you add a few highlights of the yellow and the green to complement the other growth. Barnacles are plants, right? I don't know. I don't know what barnacles are. It's like anemones. If anemones like with friends like these, who needs anemones? Um, Even now, I'm like, anemones are plants, carnivorous plants. Are they animals? I don't know. I know. I know what a freaking platypus is. I don't know what the hell like half the sea life in the world is. All right. Last but not least, let's put just a nice brown base on this. All right. Let's remove the green. Get a white background so you can see what I'm doing right now. Clean that out. Fine brush. Yeah, let's put your fine brushes somewhere safe. That way they don't get all jacked up. I found there's no. I mean, I once bought a brush that was super duper expensive with a super duper tight tip, and like after like the second day, the tip just went. It's like it's not worth the money. Just get a bunch of cheap brushes that are thin, and just take care of them and clean them and keep doing that and that. Come on. Give me some of that brown. Give me some of that golden brown. Ugh. Don't say that on the internet. Never say that on the internet. Someone takes an audio clip and you're screwed forever. You're that guy. Okay, so I gotta hold it here and here. And let's do a flat base of this kind of sandy brown. A reason why I don't do shading is because you do all this shading, and then you go and put another color in, and you overlap, and you have to you have to correct all of that. But with washes and dry brush, it's not a huge deal. It's easily fixed. Okay, now this is a bit of a light color. I'm looking for sand, but it is coming off a bit light. Nothing horrible, just a little light. I have brown, but it's brown. So I have a brown, but it's too dark. And when you water it, when you add white to it, it comes out nasty looking. So usually I have to add like yellow to it of some type. Let me see if that works. So what you don't see because the chat box in the way, I'm literally just putting like a little drop, like a little dot. This is just freaking printing paper, cardstock, but printing paper. So no big deal. I put a little dot. If it's not needed to go into a giant bucket, just a little drop. Alright, let's see how that looks. It's a little darker than... Whoa! Touchdown. It's a little darker. Not by much. So I mixed my basic brown as opposed to the golden brown with yellow. Yeah, not a huge difference. You guys probably can't even see it on camera, but I am happy with it. I feel it works a bit better. This definitely gives it like an ocean sand kind of feel. Alright. Alright, people, I think we are done. I think we're done. Okay, so let's see if I can get a nice angle on the camera. Make sure I can see what I'm doing. Let me stand up so I can see the camera. There we go. Yeah, look at that. That looks nice. Bit of a brownish color for the base. You have the tendrils. You have the dark blackish red scar, a few yellow highlights. As you turn it, you can see the darker deep color inside with the highlights of the teeth. You have your little hanging on for dear life starfish. The just pale yellow with a black wash for the barnacles, which kind of complements the yellowish in the green seaweed. Let me see. So our camera's wiggling. You have the break right there, and you have in the break you have the wash, and you have these lighter dry brush highlighting the scars on top. The scars right here. Once again, the scars around the actual scar. The striations, if you would. I just mixed them. I just swirled that yellow and that green together to make it kind of like a slushy color. Cause let's be honest, it's seaweed. It's nasty. You have your little D&D figurine, and she sits right there. Let's turn her around. There she is. And it kind of works because I had the way I have the character. She's looking downward. So she's like, "Oh crap, this ain't good. This is not my day. Should have stayed in the tavern." And I think that's it, people. I think we are good to go. Let me see if I can center it on the screen. There we go. So, thank you for joining me today. For those of you who missed it by watching it later on, thank you for watching it later on. Sorry for the delay in the video. Sorry for the audio issues. This is the first of my Sunday art stream. Next week, I'm going to decide which one I'm going to do. My classic D-holder. By the way, this is copywritten. This sculpture is actually my sculpture. It's copywritten. We have the D-holder, and then we have the Grapple Hand, which I'm thinking, since I'm going to put on a raised base, I might color this to be a stone statue. Like, this is stone statue as opposed to an actual, like, creature bursting out the ground who's been battle damaged and scarred up and everything. And I was thinking of doing that because I've also took a little epoxy clay on the side. I made a tiny one little plaque with big rivets in it. I might redo this plaque, but it's a little tiny little plaque that I could then like mount to the front. I don't know. I'll think of something. But yeah. So boom, done. I'll take some images of this. I'll put some still images over on my Instagram and on my Twitter. In fact, you can see right there. Find me on Twitter, find me on Instagram, find me on DeviantArt for various images. Instagram is, once again, for works in progress and the finish. Twitter is just me commenting on stuff with artwork. DeviantArt is supposed to be the completed artwork. I am working on fixing up my DeviantArt page. But that's all more completed artwork. And, of course, finally, on YouTube. So these videos will eventually be saved permanently on YouTube, along with more script and story-driven videos on YouTube. And last but not least, one more reminder, these are on Etsy. These will be on Etsy shortly, as well as the hand. So check out my Etsy page for sculptures and artwork. If you're into video games and cartoons, I have different artwork up on there as well. All of which are beneath the Burgos art. And yeah, that's it. So anyway, guys, once again, I am Dante. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the future. Later.